Was punishment in ancient Persia truly about fairness? In an age where suffering was seen as a form of spiritual purification, and law was believed to mirror the will of the cosmos, pain itself took on a holy meaning. Imagine being skinned alive while thousands of people watch and cheer. Imagine your own flesh being turned into furniture that your children will have to sit on for the rest of their lives. Imagine being slowly devoured by insects while trapped between two boats, unable to move, unable to escape, for days on end. This isn't some twisted horror movie. This was justice in ancient Persia, and what you're about to hear will absolutely blow your mind and probably give you nightmares for weeks. But who determined what imbalance required correction and what price had to be paid? Join us as we uncover the layers of a justice system steeped in fear, faith, and fire. The Persian Empire, which at its height spanned immense stretches of the known world, was celebrated not only for its magnificent architecture, advanced infrastructure, and impressive military achievements. Beneath its outward splendor, it maintained a remarkably organized and carefully structured legal framework. This last principle was far more than a personal virtue. It was treated as both a civic duty and a legal necessity. In Persia, truth-telling was compulsory, particularly in the realms of law and politics. Deceit, especially in court testimony, trade dealings, or matters of governance, was not regarded as a mere personal failing, but as a grave violation threatening the stability of the entire social and political system. To the Persian way of thinking, lies disrupted harmony and disturbed the natural balance. For this reason, falsehood was punished severely, often through brutal means, and in certain legal or governmental cases, it could even bring about a sentence of death. We're diving deep into the the most brutal, most terrifying, and honestly most psychologically disturbing punishment system that has ever existed in human history. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that what the Persian Empire did to criminals makes modern horror films look like children's cartoons. But here's the thing that's going to shock you the most. This wasn't just random cruelty. This was an incredibly sophisticated, religiously justified, and systematically organized approach to justice that shaped an entire civilization for centuries. The Persian Empire wasn't some backwards, primitive civilization. This was the most powerful empire the world had ever seen, stretching across virtually the entire known world at the time. We're talking about the people who built incredible architectural marvels, established some of the first postal systems, created advanced infrastructure that modern engineers still study today, and developed military strategies that influenced warfare for thousands of years. But underneath all of that sophistication, underneath all of that advancement, was a justice system so brutal and so methodical that it makes Game of Thrones look like a Disney movie. And the craziest part? They didn't see it as cruelty at all. They saw it as sacred duty, as cosmic balance, as the only way to maintain order in the universe itself. The foundation of Persian justice wasn't just about punishment, it was about truth. And I mean literally, obsessively about truth. According to the Greek historian Herodotus, who actually lived during the Persian Empire and witnessed their society firsthand, Persian boys were taught exactly 3 things growing up. 3 things. That's it. How to ride a horse, how to shoot a bow, and how to tell the truth. That's what they considered the absolute essentials of human existence. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. Lying wasn't just discouraged in Persian society. It was treated as one of the most serious crimes possible. We're talking about a culture where telling a lie could literally get you executed. And not just executed. Executed in ways that would make medieval torture devices look merciful. The Persians believed that falsehood didn't just hurt the person being lied to. It disrupted the cosmic balance of the entire universe. This brings us to something that's going to blow your mind. The Persian word for punishment also means to question. Think about that for a second. To them, punishment wasn't just about making someone suffer for what they did wrong. It was about forcing them to examine their choices, to reflect on how their actions affected the cosmic order, and to undergo a process of spiritual interrogation that would either cleanse their soul or destroy their body in the process. They literally believed that every crime created ripples across creation itself, disrupting what they called Asha, the sacred cosmic truth that held the universe together. So when they punished someone, they weren't just dealing with a criminal. They were performing a sacred ritual to restore balance to reality itself. Now let's talk about who was actually making these decisions, because this is where things get even more insane. Persian judges weren't just random government officials. They were carefully selected from the noble and priestly classes, required to have extensive education, moral discipline, and were expected to be completely incorruptible. But here's the kicker. The state absolutely recognized that humans could make mistakes or become corrupt. And what happened to corrupt judges? Well, let me tell you about Judge Sisumnus, because this story is going to haunt your dreams. Sisumnus was caught accepting bribes under the reign of Cambyses Twid. Now, in most civilizations, a corrupt judge might be fired, maybe imprisoned, possibly executed, but the Persians, they flayed him alive. They literally removed his skin while he was still conscious, still breathing, still screaming. But wait, it gets worse. So much worse. After they skinned this man alive in front of thousands of spectators, they didn't just dispose of his body. They carefully preserved his skin, tanned it like leather, and used it to cover the judicial seat where his own son would now serve as the new judge. Imagine that. Every single day, this man's son had to sit on his father's flesh to make legal decisions. Every day, he could feel his father's skin beneath him as a reminder of what happened to corrupt officials. That's not just punishment. That's psychological warfare on a level that's almost incomprehensible. They turned a human being into furniture and forced his own child to use his father's remains as part of his daily work routine. And this wasn't considered excessive or cruel. This was considered an appropriate and measured response to judicial corruption. The Persian court system was incredibly sophisticated for its time. They had local courts for civil and domestic disputes, royal courts for serious criminal cases, military courts for soldier discipline, and religious courts for spiritual matters, influenced by Zoroastrianism. Accused individuals had the right to self-defense, could obtain legal representation if they could afford it, and witness testimony was required under oath. But here's where the facade of civilization completely crumbles. False testimony wasn't just perjury, it was considered an attack on cosmic truth itself. And the punishments for lying in court? Well, let's just say that what happened to Judge Sisumnus was actually pretty standard procedure. Now, the Persians weren't completely insane. They did have some progressive elements in their system. They had bail systems for certain crimes, and not every offense resulted in torture or death. Minor infractions could result in fines or short imprisonment. They emphasized family law and structured social roles. Provincial governors had legal autonomy, while still adhering to Central Persian legal frameworks. But, and this is a massive but, the system was incredibly biased toward the upper classes. While kings preached fairness and divine justice, nobles could literally transfer their punishments to their servants. Royal family members could escape direct consequences for their crimes. The ideals of Persian justice were beautiful on paper, but the reality was that your social status determined whether you died screaming or walked away with a warning. Now we get to the part that's going to make you physically sick. We need to talk about what the Persians actually did to human bodies, because they viewed the human body as what they called a public canvas, a permanent record of someone's crimes that they would carry for the rest of their lives. Physical punishment wasn't just about causing pain. It was about creating lasting, visible evidence of someone's crimes. Justice was literally something you wore for the rest of your existence. Your body became both the site and symbol of your punishment, ensuring that everyone who ever saw you would immediately know what you had done wrong. Theft was punished by amputation, and I'm not talking about quick, merciful removal for stealing anything. Regardless of whether you were starving, desperate, or took something worth almost nothing, they would remove your hand. But here's the absolutely brutal part. If you stole again, they would take your other hand. If you somehow managed to steal a third time, they would take your feet. They created a progressive system of mutilation that ensured repeat offenders would become increasingly helpless and visible reminders of their crimes. But it gets worse. If you helped someone who was spreading lies, even if you just listened to false information and didn't report it, they would cut off your ears. Their logic? If you listened to lies, you were complicit in disrupting cosmic truth, and the organ that allowed you to commit this crime needed to be removed. If you trespassed on someone's property, they would amputate your feet, ensuring you could never walk onto someone else's land again. Political crimes received special treatment. Rebellious governors, treasonous nobles, or anyone who posed a political threat to the empire would be blinded. And I'm not talking about being blindfolded or having your eyes damaged. I'm talking about hot metal rods being inserted directly into your eye sockets while you were fully conscious. The dual purpose was to eliminate any future danger you might pose while...
To the lions!
She has disgraced us all!
I hereby sentence you